Awesome. So today on the Tea Talks, joined by Ryan, and Cush. And yeah, on the podcast, obviously we have many creatives, but this guy, it's not just a normal creative. We have a man who's literally you said you've come off set, you've been editing today.
Yeah, we've been in post-production for the Amazon Prime series Trust, so it's
so as you can
been a
tell,
busy morning,
yeah,
man.
yeah. This is serious, So yeah, today we just want to talk about how you got into it, because me personally, I know a lot of directors who want to do what you do, but it seems like you've taken it to another level. You've been on Million Youth Media, and your is it Trust, the first part? Yeah, it's got like 500k views upwards. So I just wanted to ask that, how did you get into it? And we'll go into that all today. But first question, like, what made you have like a love for film? Because I know a lot of people who like film, but it seems like you've taken it to another level. So what actually got you into that, into making films?
I'd say that I always had a passion for being creative in general. Like, there wasn't really anything that sort of brought me to film specifically.
Okay.
But it sounds mad cliche, but I had a dream about the storyline for a feature film.
Really? Wow.
And the feature film is essentially a sequel to Trust. The feature film came first, so I started writing that. This was based off of things that I saw in my dream. I thought the storyline, this is, when you have a dream and it sticks with you.
Yeah.
You don't, like, you can remember everything. Sometimes
like
you might tell a
dream
friend,
sort of thing.
but I couldn't forget what I saw.
Really?
So I sat there in bed and I was just like, yo, if this was a film, this would be absolutely mental.
Man.
And I just went for it, and I was like, you know what? I have no idea how to make a film, but I'm going to teach myself how to write, teach myself how to build a team. And it's weird because I feel like all the skills that I developed over my lifetime, it helped me put together a team of the best people to do what I wanted to do.
So are you self-taught then? So you didn't actually go to any sort of film school or anything? Oh,
no
right.
film school. I feel like it's weird because with a film school, you're taught in a very industry way.
Yeah, that's how
and like that screams volumes to me, because it's like, why do 90% of directors, writers, producers not make it? Like, why is there that big difference of the top people that we can all recognize and the people that haven't done it? And I feel like they must know something different, and that's what I've always known about the majority of industries, that if you really want to do stuff like at a high level, teach yourself in the best way that you can, but adopt the skills that are industry standard.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot because I'm also doing film. Us three are all doing film. Nice. And it's you can't really teach creativity. You can't really teach imagination to someone. At the end of the day, if you have an idea in your head, that wasn't taught to you. That's what you came up with yourself. So you just got so like with creators, you've got to find out how to project that onto other people.
Exactly.
And film is a good way to do that.
I think the currency that I had to learn was like the ability to make other people believe when you don't have any accolades.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Like,
You've got to sort of show them you've got to show them the end product before it's there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will doubt, you know what I mean?
And I think, like, yes, that comes with a lot of enthusiasm, like to when you're speaking to people and you say, oh, I know you can edit, or I know you know how to make music, or I know you know how to do whatever department it is that you need to make your film happen. It's easy to be enthusiastic and say, oh, I want to get loads of awards, I want to get this many views, I want to do this, that, and the other. But they actually have to be so certain of what you're saying in order to believe you, because people don't do anything for anyone unless it's to do with money or it's within their major best interest to do so. So the only currency you really have left is belief, and you got to make people believe what you're doing, man.
Yeah, and there's also like, I feel like people get into the film industry for the wrong reasons. I feel like people, instead of wanting to show people their creativity, like what they want to create, they're doing it for the instant gratification of money. Obviously, money is a bonus. Don't get me wrong. It won't hurt. Like, it doesn't hurt. But I feel like some people get into it. Like, say, people get into education, do lawyer jobs and stuff because then they'll get a big paycheck out of it. But really, do they really want to be sat in an office all day, just like doing mind-numbing tasks? 100%. I'm not saying lawyers have mind-numbing jobs, but you know, it's just a good example. But yeah, so I hear you do acting as well. Yeah. What made you go, I think I'd be a good actor? I think I can do this.
The thing is, I never really had that thought. It was more so the feature film, what we're talking about is the cycle. There's a feature film that I'm going to be making, or I've been making for the last 4 years, like developing. The story's already developed, the team is there, the actor's there, it's been casted 3-4 years ago. But the budget for that film is 1.5 mil.
Wow.
So being that my first project, who's giving a first-time filmmaker £1.5 million pounds?
Yeah.
So there was like a whole process that I was going through. I flew to LA, and I realized that this was a story that wasn't really like, this is a film project that I want the world to see. This was a story that I wanted to tell, and my character lived in that story. So I said, okay, if I'm going to be one of the lead characters, one of 15 lead characters in this film, I need to know how to act, right?
Yeah, of course.
So what I did when I was creating the characters is I was writing them with my own personality in mind. So it meant that I didn't really need to be super good at acting at that time anyway.
You just had to be yourself.
I just needed to be myself and be comfortable.
You see that in the first film as well, because you know it does seem like it's. I don't know you personally, but it's very similar to how you would act, because you know you sort of chilled out. You know what I'm saying? You know, so yeah.
And it was kind of easy to do that. But what I find most interesting is designing other characters. Where
really,
it's like
why is that?
when you're writing for a different character, whether it's a girl, an older guy, a younger girl, you know,
like a support
different
character
age groups.
in general.
What's interesting is the way that I write is I will look myself in the mirror and I'll say it and I'll be like, do I believe what I've just said? And that helps me to kind of build the characters. But it's interesting, if you're like writing for like a 7-year-old or like a 5-year-old, when they're having an argument with another person, what's interesting about that is that they argue in a different way to what we argue. So they might say something like, you're just angry because I have more friends than you. That's the type of stuff that they argue about. So just becoming every character when writing it, that was what was most interesting for me. So from an acting perspective, I just said to myself, okay, I need to learn this skill properly. I ended up going to Identity School of Acting for a full term, and that taught me like invaluable information, not just from an actor perspective, but also to see how I was being taught by the director, which then allowed me to direct other people at mass. You know, so I kind of got two things from it, whereas other actors might have gone there and only got the acting skill. I kind of learned both. So
yeah, that's always good to like there's always that saying, it's like it's better to know a little bit of everything rather than all of one thing, because then that way you're expanding your mind, like your knowledge. So say you're directing on set, say your DOP might not be working out so well, and if you've got a little bit of camera knowledge, you can do it yourself, sort of thing. I'm not saying that you have to, but it's always that good knowing like what setting up a camera entitles, what lighting temperature, and messing around with the Kelvin. And it's always good, even if that's not your role, it's always good to know about that, because then you know what way you like, how you want the shot to look, because you want this sort of color on it, this sort of like lighting on it. So it's always good to know more than one skill. It
lets you have more in-depth conversations with your team. I think back then I had a team of maybe about 25 people or thereabouts, of like different departments. Some people doubling up on certain departments because they didn't have as much experience. But now the team is like over 75.
Wow.
Like from music
big
composers, like different members of like individuals within a camera team, sound team, production design, like all of that is really important to understand how it works. So I totally agree with what you're saying. But also what's quite important, I think, is building the relationship with all of them. Like every single person on set needs to believe that they are not just there for a job.
Yeah,
Like,
that
it's
sort of
not just, oh,
motivation.
I'm getting paid my day rate and I'm here, can't wait to get home. Like, everyone has to be there because I want my department to shine through this project. And on the last few episodes of Trust that we made, I cannot believe what they did.
Really?
Like, it's unbelievable.
Mad. So how does it actually get to that dream to, you know, now we've got a team of 25 to 75? How did it get to that? Because, you know, a lot of filmmakers probably want to know, you know,
Your
like,
recruiting stage,
yeah, your
how they would get, like, say me as a filmmaker as well. I would want to know how I can get involved in such projects. So did you go out just recruiting people, or did people come to you?
It was a mixture of both. I always had like a base. So when I was in the making of the feature film, I had like a base of who I needed, and it was just about building on those teams and building on those relationships. And naturally, when you say that, okay, the first episode has come out, you want to make the second episode now.
Yeah.
It just people flock to you because it's like, okay, like this is going somewhere. And I did do some searching. Like, there were some roles that still needed to be filled, but it wasn't that difficult. But it's not just about getting the creative in the space for that specific position. Like, I wanted to build a relationship with that person first. I need to know, are you here for the job, or are you here to make
for the
something
dream,
incredible?
What
one is it?
That's crazy.
So.
That's crazy. So would you say there were many processes from the ideal, like, you know, that dream to having to actually making the film? Were there many processes, like many things you had to go through? Was it difficult sometimes? How did that all work out?
I mean, well, yeah. I imagine there'd been some ups and downs, you know, whether it be in
Mate,
post-production,
there was
pre-production.
Really?
I'm
new to the whole film thing, so mad.
We'll be sitting here all day, but literally like hundreds and hundreds of different processes. Because I think that's when the whole like producer thing comes into it. Like, I think as an audience, we look at a film and we either say it's good or it's bad, but what goes into it, no one can really comprehend that. Like,
you can tell the difference, though. You can tell the difference to like a mediocre film to a good film. Because when I watched Trust, the first part, like, I remember the first scene. You had the you driving the car and you had the drone shot on top, and I thought, like, this is a very, very professional film. Because, like I said, I know a lot of, you know, upcoming film makers, and they're just not as good. They're just not as good. But it seemed like all the stops were pulled out on that. So that's something I wanted to say, like, you know.
Yeah, it's just down to how, you know, how involved the people working behind it feel towards the film. Like you've said, like, I know, like, a lot of directors start off with micro budget films, and you know, like France, and then like some people. So there's people that start off with micro budget films in order to be able to get funding, whereas then you get people like Francis Coppola. Do you know who that is? A director with Apocalypse Now. He couldn't find any funding. Luckily, he was, well, you know, we're not in his position, but he was rich enough to fund it himself. So, you know, at the end of the day, people make, like, it's the difference is directors who are doing it for the paycheck and just, like, doing it to be able to do more, or people who just, like, would sacrifice anything to be able to show them, give people an insight in their minds, really.
I think that it comes down to, like, the writing of a script, but then you're looking at the script and you're like, okay, how can I make this the best? Like, how can I make what we have just read the best that it can be? So essentially, the first scene, there's one line of dialogue where he says, "You better not mess this up."
Yeah, you better not mess this up.
That's literally all he says. But that scene is about 2 minutes? 2 minutes long. But you get so much from the scene, even though there's so little dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
So essentially, what that scene is, what would I call it? I don't want to say drug deal, because I hate films, UK films, that just revolve around guns, drugs, and money. But essentially, what that was an exchange of a bag, and in that bag was drugs, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what the script says. But then we look at that scene, that section, and say, how do we make that look like the best thing ever? Yeah. How does that look like the best drug deal ever, and not just your standard, oh, give me some money, here you go, here's the bag. How do we kind of steer away from that? And that was down to spending a lot of time with the drone pilot, going to that location and saying, okay, wouldn't it be, we did it in the daytime, and said, if the car was there and the car pulled up this way, and we did it in sync where the car goes round and that car goes round at the same time.
Yeah.
Then they meet, then they get out. What does the drone cinematography look like there?
Yeah.
And we was like, maybe it just pans all the way around. So we tried it in daylight, and we was like, this is the shot. When it got to nighttime, we got all the cars in place, and we was like, yo, this actually looks mad. And it's a good opener. I think drone shots are good to open a film because it boosts the production value straight away, and you're kind of
100%,
interested in
definitely
seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah,
definitely.
So you're filming this, and I'm guessing you're still in production, or
we're done.
You're done already.
I filmed the whole series.
So was you able to get this all done just before the whole global pandemic thing happened?
It's weird. Like timing is crazy.
Yeah. So
literally a week before we finished the whole series. So all episodes are filmed. I'll say the first episode was more of like a prologue, more just like an intro to what the story is, but the next episodes are like 40-50 minutes long.
So the first episode is more like a pilot episode.
Not really a pilot, more like just an intro to what we're doing. And then the cycle comes after Trust, so that will conclude the full story all in one. So would you say, so now that you're done with this project, you're gonna obviously work with this. Do you reckon you'll do another project after this? I think now it's time to get into the cycle, man. It's a feature film, so it will be. So the reason why I did it this way, as opposed to doing the feature film first, was number one because of money. It was hard to get that big of a budget for a feature film when you have nothing to your name. You know. But what I realized was that there was a prequel story that I needed to tell. And that's introduced all these new characters. So now hopefully the audience will be so bought into the story, the characters. People will like certain characters, people will not like them. But not like them because their acting was bad, but not like them because they're emotionally attached to something that they did. And that means we've won. We've won straight away. If you hate a character, I believe
because of what they've done.
Exactly, you've done a good job.
The actor.
And hopefully that just allows us to market the feature film from the creators of Trust and how the story ends, which is that hopefully will drive a big audience towards it.
In terms of marketing, how do you normally use social media? Is it mainly social media based or other methods? Yeah,
social media. Also smart placement of different things happening within the film. For example, you might have a celebrity in a scene, but they don't really say anything, but they're just there for the face. So kind of like a cameo. We've got a few of those in the new episodes coming. And just pushing it as much as possible. But I think the interesting thing that a lot of directors, producers, actors, writers, literally everyone in our industry doesn't look at is the people side of things. That is so important in order to capture a big audience, because naturally, as a filmmaker, you'll make your film, and just because you have the film, you want to release it because it's a bit of content. You want to say, hey guys, this is the film I've been working on. But sometimes we have to look to the big people in our industry, like Lionsgate, Universal, Paramount Pictures. What do they do? Of course, they have a lot more money, but what process do they go through?
I do feel like social media as a whole has been, in terms of marketing through social media, has been a big impact in the industry as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Instagram has grown so much. That's sort of the place.
Not being funny, not trying to down talk anyone, but billboards and stuff. When you're driving, you see it, you look at it, but you don't really give it a second glance because you're so concentrated on driving. Whereas I feel like if you're swiping through social media and you see an advert, you see that and you're more prone to stop and watch it, especially for YouTube adverts and stuff. So I feel like I don't know, when influencers and that have cameos, like you said, and stuff like that, their fan base are more likely to look into it because they're like, all right, I'm a big fan of this person. I want to see them in action as a different person, as a character. So how do you feel in terms of the growing marketing aspect of social media when it comes to film?
I think social media, Instagram wise, is gonna be probably our next gen of like how things are built.
Yeah.
And I think social media has a big part to play in people seeing films, because you can make the best film in the world, but if no one sees it, no one cares.
Yeah, of course.
You know, gonna know your accolades, no awards, no nothing, because no one's seen it.
Yeah.
But to touch on the point that I was making, it's like you have these big companies that spend money on things like billboards, and I'm in agreement with you. Just because I see a billboard with a great poster, I might be like, that looks cool, but when I go home, do I remember what that was called?
Yeah.
Probably not. Like, they're spending tens of thousands of pounds on that stuff, but does it really work? So I agree with you. I think social media is the best way to push it. But the important thing is to look at the distribution process. So going from a film will come out, it will have its premiere, then it will go to cinema, then it will go to, I don't know, on demand, Sky on demand, or whatever it might be, streaming services. Then you get like your whole Netflix, Amazon, or whatever. Then YouTube, and then whatever else people do.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna put into everything I ever make from this point forward will be the same process to the best that I possibly can.
Yeah.
So your process for like, so for the future reference, so your process is going to be film it, cinema, so distribute it to the cinema.
That's a more of a different convo. Like the cinema distribution is a bit more difficult, but you can still kind of copy. You can do things like we had a red carpet premiere for and the reason we did that was because that gives it a new light straight away. You have your friends turn up in suits, tuxedos, dresses to come and watch a film in a cinema. Take like screenshots or have everyone documenting that, because people are at an event and people are interested. Wow, this person went to the premiere, that person went to it. What is this film? Okay, now I'm going to go and watch it. That's another view. So we're copying that process, but essentially all we're doing is hiring out a cinema, getting them to put the poster of our film on their billboard right at the front, and almost kind of imitating this whole thing that big production companies do. But that cost me $2,500 to have everything. The cinema, the billboards, at the top we had Trust World Premiere, bang center in the middle of their cinema for like 2-3 days. And when we went there to set it up, it was so interesting because we had people walking by saying, "Oh, is this film coming out soon?" And I'm standing there.
That must be. How does that feel? How does that feel? That must be like.
It was crazy because I was on Instagram Live as well when it happened, and this guy come up and he was like, "Is there a way that we can?" Because I was helping the guy put the letters in the in the headline show thing, and he was like, "Oh, that's the poster," and he was like, "Wait, that's you, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Is this film coming out soon?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's coming out soon." And I was like, can I watch this in the cinema? And I was like, "It's not going to be coming out here, but it will be on Amazon hopefully." And like maybe I got a view from that, maybe I didn't, but it's just interesting to be in that process.
That must feel amazing.
Cool,
that must feel great. Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's amazing.
So it's just like, is this film coming out? I heard,
Just trying to play it down.
There's rumors out there that there is.
That's mad.
But I think that was a magical day, man. Like, because it turned out better than what I expected to. Not the film itself, but the actual event. Like, people turned up, everyone was dressed up, they came with their partners. It was nice.
Well, there's just your friends that you got to dress up, or was it just like?
So I listed the tickets online, but they all went straight away. But them quite lucky because I've got a lot of friends that are like high profile. So it was nice to have like footballers come, you know, different like celebrities in their own departments, like music artists, models, whatever it might be. I just had all my friends come together to watch something that we'd all made, and it was just it was a nice vibe. Like, it was a good.
Yeah, of course. And it's, I suppose if you know that the people go, and it's like you're showing the people closest to you what you've imagined, what you dreamed about.
Yeah, and this is the stage. This is the stage that we want to be shown on. We don't want to just show on YouTube. We want people to sit and watch our work on the biggest screen that they can.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember the day before the event, I drove there just to check that everything was set up, and I walked outside and I could see the poster there. I was on my own and I walked in and I went up to the place where you buy tickets and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, what's going to be showing in screen 1? And there was like, I think they said it was the new Frozen. And I was on my own, and I was like, "Oh, is there seats?" And they was like, "Yeah." And I found the seat that I knew I would be sitting in on the day of the event. And I was like, "Yeah, can I like basically have a premiere that's happening here tomorrow? I just want to like see this space." I was like, "Yeah, you can go." And I was like, "No, I want to buy a ticket. I want to watch this film." And they was like, "So you just want a ticket on your own?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Fair enough." So I got the ticket. I sat down right at the front, and I sat in the seat, and I was like, "Yo, this is gonna be us tomorrow."
Yeah, like you're already picturing your movie being shown.
Yeah, it was a cool experience.
That's
you're
crazy.
sort of getting a feel for it already, sort of.
That's crazy. So one thing I wanted to ask then, how did you manage to get on Amazon? Because that seems like a big move. That seems like a very big move to make a film which you've never made a big film before, to getting it on a big platform like Amazon. How did that all work? How did that all pan out?
So Amazon have a thing called Amazon Video Direct or something like that. So essentially, you can create an account with them, and there's a lot of stages that you have to go through. So when you submit your work, it has to come with like SRT files, which is essentially like closed captions in multiple different languages. But it has to be done in a certain type of style. So that's for filmmakers to go out and research how that's done. Obviously, it goes through a quality control check. So obviously, is this project, this film, good enough to be on there? And then you go into this queue, and if they approve your work, essentially, then you built your partnership with them, and you have a direct stream of anything you make. You can submit as long as you follow the same guidelines. Like now, my process of submitting to them is a lot easier than it was back then.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it just makes life a lot easier. And it's interesting because at the event, I found out that we got accepted for Amazon distribution.
Really? Crazy.
So I didn't tell anyone.
Like, this seems like one day.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone until at the end of the film, when like obviously you get the round of applause and everyone's happy, and then we all got called to the front of the stage. And different people were speaking, and I just said, look, I want to just thank everyone here. And I was like, no one in this team knows this, but we have literally just got a distribution deal.
Did you say that on the? Oh, amazing!
Everyone went mad.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. It seems like you've kept the motivation, because one thing I noticed on your Instagram page is that you do a lot of like self-help and just quotes on staying motivated. And that's one thing I've realized. We were talking about earlier how creatives can sometimes have these creative highs but also have the lows. What kept you to stay motivated on set when times were tough, and stay consistent with the whole process?
On set, I would say that if you're the person leading the project, you cannot show fatigue, you cannot show that you're disheartened, you cannot show that you're annoyed or angry. You have to be the guy that everyone is like, we're following this person, because everyone naturally gets tired. We shot for 10 days straight. We was doing like 12, 13, 14-hour days on some of them. And it's like, you're supposed to only be on set for 8 to 10 hours. Yeah. But we was doing long shifts, like, to get the job done. And I think just staying consistent and believing that once this is all done and we're all sitting there, we'll look back and think all that hard work was 100% worth it. Yeah. But then I think if you are leading a project as a filmmaker, it's important to ask yourself the question of like, who are you when no one else is watching you? Yeah. You have to sit and really look yourself in the mirror and say, who are you when no one's watching? Yeah. Because you can say, I've got this great idea, put this big team together and post all this on social media, but when no one's watching you and social media isn't there, are you writing? Are you planning how the shoot's gonna go? Have you taken into account every little thing that could possibly go wrong? Yeah. And that's what I did, and I did that for a year straight before I even picked up the camera up to get this going. Yeah,
you always got to sort of assume the worst. Yeah, because that way you're prepared for it if the worst does happen. So obviously, as a director, you're the one holding the map. If you're tired and absolutely and not on the ball constantly, you're all gonna get lost. So.
The first day was hell.
Really? Why was that? What happened?
So we shot in this. We shot in a warehouse, this abandoned warehouse in the middle of a field. and it took probably from, you can't drive there, you can only walk there. So it was one of those places where it's sectioned off, so you're not really supposed to go there. So we had to park in this car park, which was about 10 minutes away.
But there quite a few of you guys going.
That was our full team that day. We had about 32 people with us that day.
And
so
I'm guessing equipment as well, like heavy,
massive C stands to hold up like lights and stuff.
Mad.
Like lighting equipment is heavy. Like if you're a lighting technician, I don't know who
you have to be
do
buff,
that job, but you have to be ready to carry big stuff. And it got to the point where we had actors crying on set. It was mad because it was freezing. It was freezing cold. The warehouse had zero power, so there was no lights, no heating. It was raining through the ceiling. Like the building could have collapsed at any minute. Like it was. And the way that the building was set out was that if there was ever a gush of wind, it would travel through the warehouse. Essentially, what I'm saying is the conditions were just unbelievable.
Bad.
That was our first day on set. If that day was at the end of the shoot, we wouldn't have been able to do it because naturally people get tired over time. I think that day had to be first because it taught us like
this is what's
I suppose like the first day people like be like, I can't do this anymore. It sort of weeds them out early, sort of thing. But I'm not saying anyone did or anything. I doubt
we pulled through it, and it was difficult. But
how do you go about encouraging the people that were struggling? Like,
motivate them.
How do you motivate them? Because that must have been hard for you to sort of see, people really, struggling.
Was it like a pep talk sort of situation?
Yeah, before every day there was a pep talk. So it was like this is what we're doing today, encouraging everybody, letting everyone know that they're doing an amazing job. Like I think that's really important.
Yeah, because that boosts your spirits quite a lot. If I'm doing a job and I've done it, I've completed it, and they go, all right, cool. And well done. I kind of thought, why did I just waste my time?
I think it sounds really cliche, but I think it's the little things.
Yeah.
The little things that people say. Like we had an amazing first AD on set, guy called Top Tarrison. He was just legendary throughout the whole thing. It would be like, when the second assistant camera is about to clap the board, and it'd be like board in, and then we'll be like, take 1, slate 25, mark it, and then they'll clap the board, right? And then just saying thank you board, and then they get out the shot. It just that little comment that you just make to the person who just clapped it is can help them do the next one.
Yeah,
if they're just going in clapping sticks, and think about it, by the time you get to slate 200 and you're just clapping, you're gonna be disheartened, even if the locations you're at are incredible. So just saying thank you to the board every time they clap the sticks, that's it makes a massive difference, So like you said, encouraging your team when you're doing it, and also playback. I think show people this is what we're making. This is crazy, and I think that's what keeps people going.
Yeah, because I've been involved in projects where people, so I'd be, say, editor, and I'd be on set with the DOP films everything, and we don't play it back. So, like, I don't know what the footage looks like until I'm editing it, and then when I edit and I see it, I'll be like, it's out of focus. This is out of focus. It's like, had we played it back then as well, it also helps, erase mistakes, because then you could play it back and be like, I don't like the way that looks, we could do it again, you're on set. Whereas if I'm editing like a day later, it's too late, but like seeing it in person just gets you just more emotionally invested in it whilst you're on set. You want it to look even better, sort of thing.
Yeah, being on set is supposed to feel like home. It's home for me. When I'm on set, it's the best place in the world for me, And if everyone feels like that, you're gonna come out with something special.
Yeah, of course.
That's mad. So it seems like, what sort of leadership skills do you think you've learned from this? Because obviously you're the person in charge. It seems like just from the pep talk, you've probably learned a lot. What would you say from someone like Ryan, who maybe wants to do what you do, or someone else who's listening to this? What would you say you've learned and would be good that they learn and they can carry out as well?
I think it's conversation, really. Like, someone might jump on board, and I'll give you an example so people have got a bit of context. Like, The music team. So I have been friends with Jessica, who is the one of the composers for Trust and the feature film as well. And I spend a lot of time speaking to her, you know, so that way you have that relationship where you can interact and you're both exactly on the same level.
Yeah.
So I think leadership skills come down to the communication that you have with your team. Do you just have a working relationship, or do you have a how's your day going? How's the family?
Like a more intimate,
you know,
Right.
like
friendly.
real conversations where like you find out about the work that they've done before and really dive into that. Now that's kind of easier said than done, I guess, because I don't want everyone to go away and just call up their team and just be like, oh, how's the family going? Because then it becomes forced. But genuinely make these people your friends, your best friends, because they're going to get you over the finish line.
Yeah, because it's like one thing, you're leading them, but if they all carry on seeing you as like the boss, you know, like the boss, the person you answer to, you know, they like, say if they have an idea that it might work for you, they'll be less likely to come to you because we're like, oh, well, he's the boss, he's him. But if you have that intimate relationship with them, if you like, they can come up to you and talk to you on set whilst you're, I don't know, taking a break, you know, then they can suggest ideas, and you know they know that you'll be able to hear them out. You know, you're approachable is what I'm trying to say, which is a very good thing.
And obviously you keep their professionalism and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And also, people don't really if you become, sometimes when you become like close with an actor, a member of your production team, or whatever it might be, it's easy for them to essentially like mess around because they think, oh, this person's my friend anyway.
Yeah.
How does that work? 'Cause is it awkward when you have to tell someone you're not really doing the best here? How do you sort of go around that? Because if they're your friend, you know, it can be a bit awkward telling them that they're knocking up.
Totally
How does that
get you.
work?
I think all that homework has to be done before, man.
Really?
Like, we don't just turn up to set and I'm like, I hope that you know your lines, right? Like we have done, like before we started shooting, there was a whole 2 months rehearsal process of like unlimited Zoom calls every single day. Like we had a schedule at 7 p.m. every single day. Wow. If you're on the schedule, you turn up for this Zoom meeting and then we're going to go through a scene and we just run it back over and over and over again.
Well, there's some people who at the beginning you thought would be good and they sort of didn't.
No, I think everyone
Amazing.
everyone added a little that made the project better. And that I can definitely say.
Yeah, that's always good. You know, when people can bring stuff to the table and not just leave it all on your shoulders, sort of thing. So, you know, it makes your job a lot easier as well. You know,
that's amazing. So what sort of advice would you give to anyone who maybe has never touched a camera but wants to make films? They see what you're doing, like, I want to do this. What advice would you give to them just starting out from nothing?
From scratch?
Yeah,
like
from
they've
scratch.
been on the fence for a while, thinking about, like, I'd have good content. I think I've got good ideas for content, but I don't know whether I should. What?
I think it's interesting because I'm a strong believer that the best stories in the world are yet to be told. And I think people don't know where to start, what resources they need. But number one, probably find someone who has done it before and speak to them. Like I'm up for having as many conversations as I possibly can to help someone out, because I know what it was like back then when I didn't have no one to speak to. So I know that the difficulties that I faced, someone who's just starting out, maybe they have a story that the whole world needs to hear. So, you know, I'm open for a conversation if people want to talk about how they can get started. But I say start writing your idea down, get a simple middle, beginning, end to your story, and then slowly start filling in the gaps. And I'd say pay attention to characters is important before you start thinking about locations and the cinematic shots that you want. Like, pay attention to your characters, because when you have depth in your character, the depth of character will give you depth of story. Depth of story is what people want to see. You know, and I think as a British film community, if people focus more on the characters and really look at the story that they're trying to tell, maybe people wouldn't just see us as, oh, British film is all about guns, drugs, and money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that is true.
You know?
Yeah, because that does seem to be quite the common trend. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if it's not, you know, MI5 agents, then it's the intent, you know, like gang banging and just, you know, selling drugs and stuff. But really, there's other stuff in London, you know, there's other aspects in London, like, you know...
London's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
We've got to show it in a
100%,
way.
yeah.
You just got to see it from a positive point of view. If you look at it in a negative point of view, like, oh, the streets are dirty, then that's what you're going to see. But if you think of it like, oh, London's, especially around Camden and stuff, like, you'd be like, oh, it's really artistic, and, you know, it's beautiful, you know, like you said, it brings light, you know, especially with, like, places like in central London. You got next to the House of Vans, you've got that tunnel which is just graffiti, and it's like, you know, that's art. You know?
We can bring, I think, as a film community, we can bring light to a lot of good topics that people don't get to see. And I think the reason why mostly that I wanted to make Trust was because every single person in the world has dealt with trust on some type of level anyway, shape or form, you know? Like, to trust someone deeply but not be trusted back because you're untrustworthy, that is a crazy concept in itself. Like, you can trust someone with everything, but can you be trusted? And you know, you got the trust of when it comes to money, you got the trust when it comes to relationships, you got the trust when it comes to friendships.
There's so many aspects.
There's so many faces of it, and that's the story that I wanted to tell. And I hope by the end of it was funny because, like, as a team, like with some of the actors and the production team, after we finished filming everything and we really realized like what this story was, I think it's gonna be funny because I think a lot of people are gonna have a lot of trust issues.
Really bad, that's jokes. That's ironic, isn't it? That's mad. It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, last question I just want to ask, like, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, 10 years? Because obviously you've done this at, you know, such a young age. Where do you see, you know, the future for yourself?
That's such a weird question for me. It's like, I'm trying to take every, like, step of my career at this stage as it comes. Like, I know where I want to be in 10 years, which is I want to be like one of the best. I want to be able to tell stories that the whole world can connect to, no matter what. And that's going to take a lot of time. But I think where I've started has been a good start, and I want to just keep that going. So next year may bring something new. Maybe there's a new project and a new story that I feel like I really, really need to tell people. And who knows, like, where that will go on to. But yeah, 5-10 years from now, I want to be telling stories that people connect to, people enjoy, people love, people are engaged in, and I can't really ask for anything more than that.
Amazing. So where can people find you? Where can they find you on social media? Where can they watch Trust? Where can they find all of that?
So my Instagram is at Cush Berlyn, so CUSHBERLYN. If you want to follow the Trust account, that's Trust_film. That will be where all live updates of what's happening with the project, when it's going to be released, everything will come out there. People can watch Trust on MYM. The first episode is on there now. It's literally just about to hit 500k views on there. I think we're like 499,000 at the minute.
Crazy.
Sick. So hopefully by the end of today, we'll hit 500,000.
Awesome.
And then the new episodes for Trust 2, Trust 3, they will come out on Amazon Prime first. So that will be where people have to watch it for the first month.
Awesome.
But after that, it will then go on to MYM. So
awesome.
It's gonna be good, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having you on, man. It's bro.
No,
this is
thank you for
real talk,
having me,
man. When I saw what you're doing, I thought I had to get you on, man, because the level you're doing at is something else. So anyway, make sure you guys continue watching the Tier Talks. Ryan, shout out your socials.
Ryan's funeral, replace the A with X's because I mentioned it for some reason.
Amazing. And that's it. Awesome. Hope you guys enjoy.
Cheers.